Welcome then to a circuit which is a true staple in British motorsport. West Kingsdown's Brands Hatch hosts the 7th round of the season in the CUPRA SimRacing Series 2020. Two drivers are emerging at the top of the championship, that being David Noj and Moritz Lerner. However, after race one tonight, we are exactly halfway through the season. And so, with that, there is no better opportunity than today to fire your way into contention and carry momentum into the second half of the season. As always, it's myself, Lewis McGlade, alongside me, Rob Wiesenmüller. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Lewis. Yes, indeed. Halfway point this time at Brands Hatch at the circuit that is the shortest track on the calendar, running the Indy layout here. And we've got 25 drivers today fighting for the two race victories.
Now, me and you, we've seen our fair share of racing around this circuit. It's a hard one. It's one that really does, you get pressure applied from all fronts. There's nowhere to relax. And so for some of these drivers, like, to be honest, our main two in the championship between David Noj and Moritz Lerner, there's a little bit more pressure on them tonight. But there's that open opportunity for people like Jack Keithley to really get involved. And also, as we've said, maybe the odd surprise to be springed from some of the new drivers on the grid and from some that we maybe don't normally see at the front.
Yes, because this track is so short and it's so close with the times. The gap between the first and the 24th driver on the pre-qualifying, it was just 0.111 second. So it's insanely close here, and I think it might be even closer than last time at the Slovakia Ring. And Lewis, I think you've prepared some highlights for us.
Welcome to highlights from the 6th round of the CUPRA SimRacing Series from the Slovakia Ring. Moritz Lerner would have pole position yet again in the CUPRA SimRacing Series alongside his main championship rival David Noj. On the run down towards turn 1, it was a great launch from Moritz Lerner, but behind him, Bence Banke had also had a great launch, pulled the slipstream from Moritz Lerner and gained second place on the run into turn 1. Jack Keithley and Kirill Antonov would battle it out over the first couple of corners, and then Antonov would come under pressure from Norbert Posan. Behind that, though, Zoltan Suti and Bence Banke would get by the young Russian and set their sights on a top 5 place. Kirill Antonov would then receive a little bit of contact from race winner in WTCR Michael Ascona, and that would send Martin Barner and Norbert Posan off the road at turn 3. Ascona, though, was under pressure from Juan Manuel Gomez, and he would get moved out of the way into dive bomb corner. Behind that, Tim Yarshall would be the next one, eyeing up a potential pass on the WTCR race winner. A touch of contact, and that would gain him the place. Further up the order, Jack Keithley would be getting by Gianmarco Fiducci in a fairly abrupt move into the same corner. And then later in the lap, Kirill Antonov would try and make a move on Juan Manuel Gomez. It would push the Argentinian driver into the side of Bence Banke, which then spun him into the path of Gustavo Fragotto, dropping him a few places. Further up the order, and Bence Banke would finally go for a move on the race leader, Moritz Lerner. It wouldn't quite pay off. Moritz Lerner was able to carry the momentum around the outside and hold the race lead. The momentum lost, though, from Bence Banke was what opened the door for Mirror Esports driver and championship leader David Noj to find his way through up into second place. A bit of contact between the two of them, some fairly aggressive defensive move into T3. It wasn't quite enough for Jack Keithley to find his way through. Then Tim Yarshall spun out Kirill Antonov. It would cost Kirill Antonov an awful lot of places and Tim Yarshall the place to Juan Manuel Gomez. Then race leader Moritz Lerner and championship leader David Noj would both come into the pit lane at the same time. Moritz Lerner's teammate Jack Keithley would then make a move for the lead on Bence Banke, opening the door for Zoltan Suti to close up that gap. They'd all come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Moritz Lerner and David Noj would both retake the lead in second place, but Zoltan Suti was able to get by in the pit lane on Bence Banke. Unfortunately, in doing so, he did speed in the pit lane. He would serve that penalty fairly quickly, but not before costing Bence Banke some precious time. Pitting very early, Mike Stoffmehl had moved his way up inside the top 10. Juan Manuel Gomez would pass him, and unfortunately for Stoffmehl, he'd drop outside of the top 10 before the end of the race. David Noj would fire everything he could at Moritz Lerner, his main championship rival, but the race win would go the way of the German. Williams Esports knock up a third win out of 3 in the endurance format in the CUPRA SimRacing Series 2020, but Moritz Lerner marks his place as a main championship rival.
Thanks a lot, Lewis. Yeah, what an exciting race at the Slovakia Ring, and quite a few penalties following up. And big news is probably this one here. Tim Yarshall has to start both races from the back of the grid this time.
That is a massive penalty at a circuit which is very, very difficult to overtake. Brands Hatch not really one that's wide open. Realistically, there's only 4 corners here, and they're all difficult in their own right. And to overtake round here, I don't want to be like crucial, or I don't want to be like too critical of it, but I kind of feel that with Tim Marshall, that's any hope of a championship challenge done there.
Taking a look at the championship standings here, we can see David Notch still leading and 1 drop score is applied. There are 2 drop scores in the championship, so the worst round doesn't count. And that certainly put Jack Keithley back into contention because his disconnect is not playing such a big role now.
It's still super tight. It says there's 100 points nearly between Lerner and Notch, but the momentum keeps shifting each way. And as we say, we're going into the halfway point. After the first race tonight, we're halfway. This is where like the momentum shift can really come and can be taken away from the likes of David Notch and Moritz Lerner, who aren't particularly used to fighting at the top end of a championship on racing. So how that momentum shift's going to happen over the next few rounds, well, we'll have to wait and see.
Wait and see indeed, but first let's wait and see what happens in the qualifying session here. On the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, very short lap times here, of course. And Gianmarco Fiducci crossing the line. Good in the last sector, but only up to P6 at the moment. E7, because Bunky immediately improves, and look at that, 1000 already at the top.
My goodness. It's, for me, obviously we've raced here a couple of times, Rob. It's a frustrating track to qualify on, because when you do your first banker lap, you think, right, okay, that was a good time, there's a couple of tenths in it though. And those couple of tenths, normally on a circuit, you can kind of like Slovakia ring, such a long circuit, you could, take or leave a couple of tenths. Around here, a couple of tenths is the divider between you starting on pole position and you starting at the back of the grid. And so when you mess up Paddock Hill, the first corner, just that ever so slight bit, when you mess up, who was that in the back of?
It's a massive accident on the pit exit. I think Peter Shanto might have been involved, one of the new drivers.
May well have been. It was definitely one of those bluey, greeny turquoise cars. So, Zoltan Suti, though, currently the one topping the session. For him, fortunately enough, can't get a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane because we're not using the pit. Well, I mean, they can use the pit lane for some odd reason, but without issue, we're not expecting anyone to come down pit lane around here. So maybe better fortune for him.
Yeah, part of the Mira Esports team, a team that has really proven that teamwork is crucial in this championship, and I think we might see the same thing here again.
Of course, with a championship battle with David Notch, right up in that for Mira Esports over on the Williams Esports side of things. Of course, they've got Moritz Lerner up there. Jack Keithley still in contention. Rob, do you think like he would help out in the same way as the Mira Esports drivers are helping out, like David Notch? I'm not too sure about it myself.
I'm not too sure either. We haven't really seen it this season so much on the Williams Esports crew that they are doing so much teamwork. A little bit in the last race maybe. But yeah, there's some question marks about the future of some drivers in Williams Esports. We're not quite sure. And also both Lerner and Keithley, they're both still in contention for the championship.
And who knows where it's going to swing from this point. Moritz Lerner's done a decent opening couple of laps and stuck himself up in third position ahead of his teammate Jack Keithley. David Notch down in 6th place, which is, okay at the moment, but with 10 minutes left to go in the session, there's still plenty of time to improve. My question comes, because obviously we've got a 15-minute qualifying session here. Now I'm just, just maybe spicing things up for a little bit later this evening. When we go into the second race, we've only got a 5-minute qualifying session, so making sure that you get your lap in that tiny period is so crucial. More crucial here than, in my opinion, anywhere else in the calendar. Except maybe Macau.
Yes, it is, but at the same time you've got more attempts here because the track is so short, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Our VIP entry there, Sebastian Stahl, the stepbrother of the Schumachers, joining us this evening. Of course, we saw him in action back in the VIP event a little bit earlier in the year, and now returning to the CUPRA SimRacing Series. See, it was Michael Ascona last time, and now there's a lot of big names joining us, Rob.
Yeah, and I think there will be a couple more names throughout the season. We won't have it every race that there's a VIP car. I think next time will be just 24 drivers, but later on in the season there will be more. As we see a change for the pole position here, Baldi.
Very nice. He's obviously it's a Mirror Esports 1-2 then, if everything stays as it is. And for Baldi, he's not been victorious this season, having joined a little bit later. Obviously has been victorious in the CUPRA SimRacing Series before, back in Monza of the 2019 season. Would be a nice return of form from him, but again, this is what we were discussing before the broadcast and slightly earlier on, was that from our point of view, Baldi, Zoltan Suti, they've come along and their only real goal here, of course they can aim for a win, whatever, but their main preference is to make sure that David is doing as well as he possibly can. They're here to help, not take points off of.
Yes, but at this stage, they're both taking points off him because there are points in qualifying as well.
Indeed.
Yeah, not only P7.
It's a bit harder to control a qualifying session, isn't it, when it comes to point scores than a race. We're nearly halfway through the session. This is what I mean about this track can be quite frustrating to qualify at, because you reach a corner and you know whether you're down, like you know whether there's no time to gain from that. So you just escape and get on with it. We can see Kirill Sokovikov returning to the championship. We saw him in action a little bit earlier in the season, now returning down in 20th place. Goes up to 14th, not bad, good effort. Tiny margin, though, that is within 2/10. There goes Quentin Ponto up to 13th place. This is what we were saying, that when you're missing that 1/10, you know, from this scenario, the 1/10 is the difference between pole position and Adam Pinches down in 9th. It is such a tiny margin. Baldi, who's lost time in the second sector there, I don't know if he's going to find a magic bit of time in the final sector. We'll see him towards the line. I think he's just going to go for another one after this. Certainly doesn't find any improvement there. Slipstream is quite crucial around here, Rob, as well. You know, you need to find a nice partner to do-si-do with, and you know, if you can find someone quick, which, to be honest, the entire grid is.
Yeah, but look at this, Bunky and I think that's Pinches. They're working together.
Yep. Not in the same team either.
No, Bunky doesn't have a teammate here.
No, neither does Pinches. Of course, Adam Pinches drives for AAA Esports and Bence Banky for Red Bull Racing Esports.
One driver who does have a teammate here is Antonov, because Alexander Galakov also qualified. He was very lucky to get on the grid because Juan Manuel Gomez forgot to register for the race, didn't reply in time, and so he's out of the race, unfortunately. But Galakov taking his car. Solid driver, always in server 2 otherwise, and Keithley has got purple sectors.
Which does mean that from earlier in the season, when we had 4 snow shatting drivers, we're down to just the 1, with Leandro Vela piloting the sole snow shatting car. Gustavo Fragotto wasn't able to qualify for it either. Jack Keithley to the line and goes to pole, 47, 9.32.
No slipstream either there. No slipstream at all.
Home circuit for Keithley. One that he's aiming to be quite good. That's not quite a home circuit in the UK sense, because he lives in Ipswich and this is in Kent, so there are a good few, yeah, it's a fair while away. It's a good few hours down the road. But Jack Keithley, nonetheless, has been strong at this venue prior to this, in the British Racing Championship. He qualified on pole, won the first race, was looking to win the second race, but then had a classic Keithley disconnection. Not looking for the same fortune this evening as he takes that pole position. We ride on board with Sokovikov, and you can see him there on the right-hand side. Looks pretty relaxed, Rob.
Yeah, nice choice of shirt.
Yeah. Is that what you race in?
No, but that's what I wear right at the moment.
I'll see you in a THR shirt whilst you're sim racing next time.
Oh, that's a long time ago, Lewis.
Certainly is.
Sokovikov taking us around 1 lap here at Brands Hatch. And it's a very short lap.
It is indeed. Run down the hill towards Graham Hill. It's very, very easy to pick up some grass on the right-hand side, or run too far wide and maybe pick up a track cut coming up to the final corner. To clearways. Everything tightens up here. You're going to see a lot of dives down the inside there as people sort of widen out the entry to the corner and then fire it down the inside of that final part. I think that's Florian Haase, by the way, who's moved up into 7th place, or Ben Supernek up to 8th. So the order still chopping and changing to the lines. Sokovikov finds a little bit of time and moves up to 15th place. Good work from him.
Also moved up, that was David Notch, up to P3. That's quite an advantage over his championship rival here, Moritz Löhner, sitting down in P6.
And there's still 4 minutes to go, but having that momentum, having that, basically getting inside Moritz Lerner's head. Remember back in Austria when Moritz Lerner basically totally destroyed David Notch in the first race by running away with it and winning it. Come the second race, though, he couldn't get that qualifying lap in, and any advantage that he gained in the first race was effectively lost in the second one. I think it was even lost even more so. I think he actually lost points overall in the event to David Notch. That's
but then again,
much easier to pass that.
Last time at Slovakia, Löhner really fought back. So maybe at the moment it's a little bit in his favor. You will see at qualifying still close, and Williams and Mira cars pretty mixed there at the front. Also shout out to Sebastian. He's not far off at all.
No, very much not so. Really a part of the battle, and it's where this round's going to come down to consistency and stuff and picking up from other people's errors, which, to be fair, considering how the racing could be around here, might be in a fair shout to move up the order slightly. So we'll keep our eye on Sebastian Stahl. That's I was thinking prior to the event a mid 48 would be a great time for him. Aiming at a mid 48. You were saying that he can do a low 48 realistically, or more towards like a 48.2, 48.3. So he's got a couple of tenths in the tank as well.
And either way, he's not going to start last anyway, because of Tim Yarshall and the grid penalty. He's not using a lot of the runoff there on the first corner.
I think that might have been Kirill Antonov moving up into 10th place as wow, Martin Barner. Good shout. There goes Adam Pinches up to 7th as well.
Part of the Bunky train. And Löhner is on the fast sector as well.
And he desperately needs this. He really, really needs this. To the line, any improvement from him? No position anyway. So stays in 6th. Has a bit of traffic coming up towards turn 1. I mean, at least from my experience, Rob, that is pretty distracting when you're trying to spot your braking point. You've got some cars on the apex, and you're not sure if they're going to keep going or stop. The pit lane exit here is pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it is, but where should they go? I mean, it's just a small track. 25 cars is a lot. Oh, Löhner running very, very wide there. The game doesn't invalidate your lap, but you pick up so much dirt that it's almost not worth it to run wide then.
Oh, he's messed up at Surtees there.
And that's qualifying over for Moritz.
That's a shame. So as best as 6th, Florian Haase improves the tiniest of margin and goes to 8th place. Moritz Lerner is still going to come out onto the track. I don't think he quite realises how little time is left. Of course, once the timer hits 0, that's the session done. And Jack Keithley starts his final lap in this qualifying session. I think Moritz Lerner's realised now and has pulled the plug on the session. Jack Keithley as well. He's called it there. My goodness, it is a tight grid here today. Any final improvements, we'll have to wait and see. It is currently Jack Keithley, though, for Williams Esports on the pole on home soil from Gergo Bowdy and David Nodge. That was an important final improvement there from Nodge. Not sure if we're going to get any final. I say that literally as Ben's banking here in a bit of a slipstream train. I think it's Martin Barner and Adam Pinches directly ahead of him and picking up time.
Oh, Keithley was in the way there.
He didn't lose time from it though, but it was pretty sketchy.
I think Pinches might rather improve here.
He's certainly closing up to the back of Martin Barner. Towards the line then, are we going to see any extra spice at the end of the session to dump Moritz Lerner further down the order? Adam Pinches goes 3rd. Great stuff from him. Where did Ben Spanky go? He didn't improve. Great final lap then from Adam Pinches. Gergo Bowdy and Jack Keithley ahead. We are going to get ready for race 1. You join us in West Kingsdown in Kent at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. It is race 1 of the 7th round in the CUPRA SimRacing Series 2020. We've had a very tight, very thrilling qualifying session. And with everything to play for in this race, things are going to get tight. Patience is going to be an absolutely crucial factor in today's race. Making sure that you can deal with pressure. Of course, we've got some of the most experienced drivers in race room on our grid. Things could get pretty feisty here as Jack Keithley on the pole position ahead of Gergo Baldi, Adam Pinches and David Noj. The run down towards Paddock Hill for the first time could get a little bit frantic. We are underway at Brands Hatch. Great launch from Jack Keithley on the outside. He's in the white car on the run down towards, going to clip that apex nicely. But we're all fanning out and finding ourselves 2 and 3 wide. There's David Noj on the inside of Adam Pinches, and we run up to Druids for the first time. He is going to be able to gain that 3rd position, maybe the outside line for Adam Pinches as he just runs slightly too wide on the run down towards Graham Hill. The advantage swings the way of David Noj. Oh, he's just been half-spun a little bit. I wonder if that was his own doing or if it was Adam Pinches getting into the rear right of rear left of his car. My goodness, that was a pretty tight dice there into Graham Hill, Rob, and that's a very easy incident that I think we've all been a part of at some point here.
It looked like he drove into the grass a little bit on the exit.
I think so too.
And cost the position himself that he already gained there. Löhner lost some ground, I think. Attacking Superneck now. Superneck, of course, part of Mirror Esports. Oh, and Löhner has run wide here. Maybe he's vulnerable to
Barner. Yeah. Barner, and is that Emery Cheehan on the inside? Certainly is. So Cheehan's going to gain the position. One of the 2 drivers without a team behind him as they dice for their positions. And Emery Cheehan actually loses out to, he did lose out to Kirill Antonov and all of that. And Gianmarco Paducci is now finding his way through the inside of Surtees. Will be on the outside for the final corner. Oh, he's been half-spun in, maybe. Wow, that was a good catch from Gianmarco Paducci. Just maybe cut across the front end of Emery Cheehan there and had some good hands and absolutely planted the throttle to save that one. My goodness, that was tight. We look backwards from the Absolute Motorsport Racing Team driver. Light lock-ups from the front right as we head through Paddock Hill. And Gianmarco Paducci with Emery Cheehan going around the outside. That's going to open the door though for Gunai behind to maybe move his way up. One of the rookies on the grid. Gianmarco Paducci lives to fight another day.
Yeah, he does indeed. Just checking on the front, Jack Keithley with a small lead on Gergo Baldi. Gergo Baldi not in the strong championship position, but still in hot pursuit of Jack Keithley here. Keithley could very realistically still win the championship.
Very, yeah. And so for David Noj's teammate, whilst he's a little bit behind at the moment, the best thing that he could do to help his teammate is stop Jack Keithley from winning the race. Cost him a few points. They run right out to that gravel trap through Paddock Hill. It's so sketchy out there. It's quite bumpy, it's quite dirty, and your tyres will certainly feel that. I can see Adam Pinches is receiving an awful lot of pressure from David Noj, Ben Spanky. Zoltan Suti, I think, will be staying out of it just a little bit to maybe just filling the mirrors of Ben Spanky rather than actually really trying anything, as Jack Keithley's under a lot of pressure from one of his main adversaries the last couple of years, Gergo Baldi.
Just checking briefly on Pinches, on the gap to David Noj, still looking safe. Actually, Baldi's looking closer, so let's go to Gergo Baldi.
Both running wide at Paddock Hill though. You can see the Gergo Baldi doing the old class. He's got a headset on today, I think.
Yeah, it looks like it.
He's spiced it up, has he? He's normally got his lights on and no headset, whereas now he's got his lights off and a headset on. So trying to find some new tactics that'll work for him.
We're running wide here. And you can see it now. Keithley didn't even lose time in the corner. And he can go faster through this. Actually, Baldi's not losing much time there, but I think it's a better line to stay on the track.
Absolutely. The thing is, it'll work for you maybe one every like 5 or 6 times, but then the other load of those, you're going to end up losing just a little bit of time, a tenth here, a tenth there. They both do find the apex at Paddock Hill this time. Someone who didn't was Adam Pinches with David Nodge all over his rear end, but it's not really carried the momentum up the hill towards Druids.
Oh.
Well, he did give it a good look, though. He did give it a good look.
Interesting attempt there.
How's Tim Yarshall come up? He's got up to 19th at the moment, getting past Attiladina. So from the back of the grid, he's got to do that in both races today. So has started from last up to 19th at the moment.
And look at this battle here with Sina and Gunay. The rookie in server 1, regular driver in server 2 in this championship. He has joined the Absolute Motorsport Racing team. And he's going to pass his teammate. He's going to pass Fiduci, who's made a mistake there.
And Fiduci is wrestling very, very hard with Kurz on the run into Paddock Hill. I think this isn't going to go the way of Gianmarco Fiduci, and he realises that, tries to drop back in line, but Sokovikov was the one that was filling that gap. He does manage to carry that one through, has gone for the up and under. Oh, and fires down the inside of Fiduci. Was there for Sokovikov! That was terrifying, as we're like 4 wide going into Graham Hill. We're all round. Oh my goodness, that is not pretty. Leandro Vela was involved in that, was one of the last cars coming through the shot. I don't think he really had anywhere to go in all of that, and Sokovikov finds his way backwards and down the order. One of our camera cars this evening. Not really having a good run of it, unfortunately. At least not in the first race. You do get to hit the reset button into the second one, though, so who knows what's going to hold his way in the second race this evening.
And look at the front, it's gotten pretty tight here. Pinches has closed the gap, and Pinches gets overtaken by Nodge now.
Nodge with a little bit more forceful that time. I don't think he'll make the same mistake into Graham Hill. Certainly doesn't. I'm pretty sure, like, I'm not going to call it exactly, but I'm pretty sure that was of David Nodge's own doing, where he just went a little bit too wide. It's so easy to do, and if you do so, the rear end swings around so quickly, as the door was nearly open for Bence Banky to fire his way through on Adam Pinches. Now what does Gergo Bowdy do? He's got his teammate behind him, looking to run for a championship, and Moritz Lerner's down in 9th place. Jack Heathley maybe trying to swing his way into championship contention. We've said before, he's not exactly out of it. Is Gergo going to try and fire something at Jack Heathley, or does he let his teammate have a go?
Let's take a look in the eyes of Gergo Bowdy here. Looking focused as ever. I think on the long run, like, I think it's very unrealistic that he will finish the race ahead of David Nodge.
Yes.
But at the moment, I think it's too early to play any games, because look at Pinches, he's still super close.
But the last thing that Gergo Bowdy will want to do is almost form a bit of a roadblock for his teammate, and potentially drop his teammate a little bit down the order. Like you say, though, it is too early in the race to be thinking about that kind of stuff. Look in the background of this. I think that's Zoltan Suti on the back of Bence Banky for 5th place.
So we have a little problem here with the server settings.
Oh, it is, though. We can see Zoltan Suti has gone down the inside, just caught that in the bottom of shot whilst we're fixing our issues, and Zoltan Suti then up into 5th place. Bence Banky demoted to 6th. Things are getting very, very tasty here in the top 5, and we've got 3 of the top 5 being Mirror Esports. 4 of them are Hungarians. So it's all pretty tight between that lot. The lone Brit out front as Gergo Bowdy. Thankfully, the camera that it's locked on is for our battle for the race lead, and Zoltan Suti's actually dropped off the back of Adam Pinches, allowing him the main target of David Nodge. Gergo Bowdy then definitely not quite close enough. Jack Heathley, he knows how to defend around here. He's raced around here a lot, and in a lot of different cars, be it touring cars, GTs, Clios, back in the day. Yes. Is that gone out? Okay, right. So we've got a little bit of a technical issue, and we'll see how this one unfolds. We've got our eye on the race at the moment, but I think we might be headed to a scenario of the red flag environment, which is a shame well, how the race is going, especially for the likes of Jack Keithley. It might be a little bit of a breather though for Moritz Lerner. We've got our eye on the race as it stands thus far, and Gergo Bowdy, well, I think he might find himself a little bit pressurised here as to back this one up once again. We'll go more into the issue slightly after, but nevertheless, I'd be a little bit frustrated if I was Jack Keithley. This race was going so well for him, and he was dealing with the pressure.
Yeah, we just have the information that the race will continue and the drivers should not take the pit stop.
Mm-hmm. Very well. So we will be continuing on then. The race carries on as normal. And Jack Keithley then leading the way. We'll have to see how this one unfolds. Then with that sort of the question marks fired over as Gergo Bowdy eyed up the inside. Now David Nodge under pressure from Adam Pinches. This is what I was worried about with Gergo Bowdy. I'm not saying he should let through his teammate, but with David Nodge not being able to get ahead, there's no buffer between Nodge and extra pressure behind. And so through that, Adam Pinches is closing up, and we know that Pinches can be a fairly aggressive driver, the Hungarian, as they've all pulled away just a second from Zoltan CT Rob. It's looking like the top four are making a break for it at the moment.
Yeah, and Adam Pinches still staying pretty close here.
That he is, and it's a great drive, at least of consistency though so far. Whoa, slight lock up there on the front right of Adam Pinches. So he's really trying to apply at the moment. We've seen Adam Pinches earlier in the season being victorious and having a great run back in Nürburgring at the start of the season, and he looked as a main contender at that point. Unfortunately, things haven't quite gone his way. The young Hungarian certainly been through the teams. Has had a Bowdy behind, Bowdy ahead of that. Very well. Well, we are going to get a red flag then. And unfortunately, the race, I think, will be coming to a fairly abrupt halt as Jack Keithley will be left out in the lead and left wondering what's going on at the moment. But unfortunately, one of the scenarios we have, of course, this happens in real life. You know, there are certain scenarios where we have various issues. And unfortunately for Keithley, it's really not fallen for him. Like we said, though, for the likes of Moritz Lerner, who is a little bit down the order, who's gone down to 11th place now, as he's been dumped even further down the order. I'm assuming he's just he's pulled off and escaped, ready for the red flag, which, as far as I'm aware, has just been called. An unfortunate scenario for some, but nevertheless, these things, they happen. We'll hit the reset button, and well, we'll see where everyone can get to from there, and who is going to be the best at hitting the reset button themselves. Unfortunately for Tim Yarshall, he's got to do all of that work again to come back through the order. Of course, having a back of the grid drop for both races, has to start from last place in both races this afternoon. Red flag is out then here in West Kingstone, the first red flag of the season, so you know, it's one of those things. I think it might actually be the first red flag of the CUPRA SimRacing Series from memory. We've had a good run through the first 12 rounds that we've run in the CUPRA SimRacing Series. Of course, 5 last year and 7 now this year. Unfortunately, there for some drivers. The thing is, with the experience of the likes of Jack Keithley, of Gergo Bowdy, they're likely to be able to come into this, hit the reset button, fire in the same up, particularly Keithley. I know what he's like. He can just fire in a lap time and move his way towards the front of a grid, particularly in these scenarios. He thrives in these levels, these kind of scenarios of the high pressure, of the confusion. He's just like, look, I'm just going to get my car onto the circuit and I'm just going to do my lap and carry on. We'll just get these the server effectively restarted then, and we'll carry things into the next couple of races. We'll be the same, as far as I'm aware, the same length, same qualifying, same format, just slightly delayed. But again, it is the halfway point of the season this evening. After race 1, we do reach that halfway point, so the points tally will be sort of a bit more known as to where things stand in the championship. We know, of course, that David Nagy and Moritz Lerner are our top 2. Outside of that, though, with the likes of Jack Keithley getting themselves involved, things were going very well for him there. And, wow, whether it would have remained that way to the end of the race, we're not too sure. Gogo Bowden was definitely applying a fair amount of pressure in accordance with his team Mirror Esports and trying to help out his good friend and teammate David Nagy. They've been teammates for a fair while now at Mirror Esports. The reset button for the sprint race. Of course, I think this would have been a little bit more stressful, maybe even in the endurance format. On the sprint format, you've got to hit the reset button between the races anyway. You've got to be able to not question, and you've got to finish the race and then get straight into the next one. So in this scenario, they're almost mentally prepared to do this kind of thing anyway. So I think for the most part they'll be fine, and we'll see the session unfold again, and we'll see if Jack Keithley can return to the top. Moritz Lerner's, like I've said, he is going to be desperate to relinquish that race to the past and think, maybe dodged a bullet then. To be fair, David Nagy and Moritz Lerner, they weren't too far apart, being 3rd and 9th at the time. We may see this race head maybe much more in the opposite environment. Of course, Moritz Lerner in Austria was doing well in race 2, or he did very well in race 1, was doing okay in race 2, then made a mistake coming down towards turn 4, fired himself off the road and cost himself an awful lot of points that day, realistically. And he's not normally a driver that makes these kind of mistakes. Coming into here, he needs to move those off, and maybe dropping down to 9th place is a little bit of a wake-up call for the German, the 3-time race winner in the CUPRA SimRacing Series of 2020. Probably the most consistent driver on the grid. Has, of course, with the exception of that Austria race, has took a while to get that first podium, which ended up being the win, and then has won 3 times since. He was battling. He was 4th in the first 2 races, then was 5th, and then 6th, and then went, nah, I'm bored of this. I'm going to start winning now, and then won in Monza and won a good couple of times after. Only 1 sprint race victory though, and that was the first one of Austria. Jack Keithley, his teammate for Williams Esports, has had a victory as well this season. That was in the first endurance round of the season at Imola. So Williams Esports, having knocked up 4 victories this season, 3 of them coming in the endurance format, was looking set for a 5th victory, and unfortunately that's not how it's going to work. Rob, there is Moritz Lerner on the circuit, and a short run into a qualifying. They've, like I say, they've got to hit that reset button very quickly.
Yes, indeed, and I'm sorry for the confusion. There was actually a little bit of a discussion behind the scenes what we can do in this situation. Mistake of the admins here, no excuse for that. Put the wrong setting from the old race with the mandatory pit stop. Of course, we're switching race formats in between each race, so it was the wrong format. But as drivers on the lower servers had already taken pit stops, it was not possible to keep the server running and to continue the race. Because it only works if they all ignore the pit stop or if none of them does. So in that way, the only scenario was to restart the race, and now we will have the short qualifying session actually for both races.
Well, there we go then. We'll catch up on what we're delayed. Like I say, it's the short qualifying, for those in reference, is a 5-minute qualifying. That is it. They let the circuit, they get 5 minutes, which around here, I mean, if you escape in this kind of session, you've got to then go out and you've got to do what is effectively a 40, 49, it'd be probably closer with the pit lane travel time, 52, 53, 55 seconds. I wouldn't want to add that kind of time. You know, you think around here, obviously it's one of the shorter laps of the season, you've got a little bit more time in hand to sort of play with it because it's such a short lap. It's going to be a tough one, and having to do that twice in the same night. Moritz Lerner, in this practice session at least, instantly fires in a low 48, which is okay. It's a decent way to start things. Are we heading straight into that qualifying session? Oh, this is pressure for a lot of these drivers. This is absolute pressure. For Jack Keithley to back up what he did in the first running of the first race in the qualifying. It's now a moot point. You've just got to delete that from memory, erase it, and carry on. And for some of the new drivers, they're maybe not so accustomed to something like that happening.
Well, I think no one is accustomed to something like that happening, because luckily it doesn't happen too often.
No, good lord.
But still, it always can happen at some point that there's a mistake, and so this time it just means we have another qualifying session, we have another start of the race, and we still have both races, of course.
Yeah, we'll see everything unfold as normal, at least from now on. With, like you say, it doesn't happen often. There are the more experienced drivers who have seen not something like this, but have seen some things over their time. Like, I think they'll be a bit better equipped to take it. Ooh, that was a nice time there from Moritz Lerner in the final sector anyway, and Jack Keith, his teammate, beats his time and does a 47.987. Sebastian Stahl, he was running in 24th, I think.
Yeah, maybe a good chance for him to get a better run here for all of the drivers. Of course, Keithley must be frustrated with this. But in the end, it is what it is. We'll be straight back to the qualifying session. Just going to show you one little ad of something that works a little bit better than our server settings. And then we'll be right back.
Qualifying underway then here in West Kingsdown in Kent. Brands Hatch, the host of the 7th round of the CUPRA SimRacing Series 2020. We've had our little reset, we've had our refocus, and we're now ready to go in qualifying. Jack Keithley already starting his lap. It is going to be a fast and frantic qualifying session. Of course, they don't have to do the outlap. They start on the grid and back from it, and carry on, and they basically just get their hot laps. They can escape, they can reset as many times as they want, and with only 4 minutes left to go in the session, the first minute's flown by. Has Jack Keithley exceeded a little bit too much there because his time has stopped?
Yeah, sometimes it can happen because the track limits here, they are quite lenient, but you can still exceed a little bit, especially if you hit the grass on the end of the paddock hill bend. Let's see if Keithley has a time here, or if it's just the timing that is not working. No, it just starts now.
Yeah, so that time that one did not count for Jack Keithley. I think there were a few drivers that didn't count for because we actually haven't got a time on the board. So I'm assuming a few people have made a mistake over the opening run. Jack Keithley, though, coming through the end of the first sector, comes through Druids, down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend, and this is where David Noj was basically 45 degrees to the road in the first running of the first race. Adam Pinches managed to gain that place, so we've got our times approaching on the board then. David Noj to the top, a 47.951. That is actually a pretty stonking lap time to open the session with, and Jack Keithley I don't think is going to be able to quite touch it. He runs to the line. I think this might be second place for the Englishman, who had pole position and was leading the race prior. It certainly does go up into second place, 47.990. Escapes, restarts, and our championship leader then on pole position at the moment. That would be such a championship leading thing to do in any sort of issue like that, to just come back and just fire in a top quality lap time. Moritz Lerner, his championship rival, nearly 2/10 off, Rob.
Yeah, certainly really helped him here. He was gaining position after position in the race as well. And a good lap here. Sultanik also on a great lap.
Of course, there is no slipstream in this session. It's a private session, so they have the track to themselves. Zoltan Suti goes up into second place, the Hungarian. And that's a nice one for him to have fired in. There's Mirror Esports 1-2 then at the moment, and Ben Supanek comes back. Moritz Lerner, that is a great middle sector. Not a great first sector, but a great middle sector as he runs towards the line. 2/10 off at the moment. Where does he go? Up to 4th. Good effort. Just behind his teammate Jack Keithley. Escapes and gives it one last go. We'll get a couple more laps in. Not sure if the second lap's particularly quick in this car around here. It's a pretty punishing circuit on the front left.
Pincher's time is also not running at the moment. It does. When he crosses the sector line, it reappears. And when Banki goes up to 2nd.
Nice time. Kirill Antonov in the top 10. Is that Sokovikov down in 9th? Who was that who just moved up? That Florian Haase moved up to 7th place. Ben Supanek just outside the top 5. Gergo Bowdy looking to fire in an impressive time here. Currently yet to set a time, down in 24th place. To the line he goes, only 5th. I was expecting that to be a pole time there with the purple sector he would lighten up.
And Keithley also only P4 here.
Moritz Lerner's 6th. His championship rivals leading the race at the moment. Gianmarco Fiducci goes to 9th with a purple final sector. Nice work from him. What's Moritz Lerner doing? Is he on the circuit right now? Yes, he is. Whether he's improving or not, it's looking pretty good. Purple in the first sector. Runs very wide through Graham Hill Bend. Comes up towards Surtees. What is he through the second sector? Is there an improvement through Surtees? Yes, it is. Comes up towards Clearways. The final corner of the circuit.
He's going to make it in
finds
time.
That second apex. Oh my goodness, I think it's going to be too close. I don't think he'll make it. I do not think that's going to be made. We'll see what he does towards the line. Moritz Lerner.
Oh, he stays 6th.
No, stays in 6th place. That is tragic, considering that was an improvement.
Oh, his car.
My goodness.
Trying to fly a little bit there. They're all getting ready now for the restarted race one. So same race length, 25 minutes. No pit stop this time. Hopefully. As the drivers are lining up on their grid. Let's take a look at Moritz Lerner here. The camera is not frozen, he's just staring there, looking concentrated.
Patient. Maybe poised to move his way up the order. I think he's going to need a little bit of help from his teammate, or more just to follow him through. It is our championship leader, David Noj, on the pole position. An impressive time that he fired in. Lerner will be pretty cross with that because he was only a second out of scoring what could have been a pole position. Bence Banki on the front row then, alongside David Noj. And once again, we are underway in West Kingsdown at Brands Hatch, and it is a monster launch from David Noj. To Paddock Hill he goes with big slipstream. Moritz Lerner's looking down the inside of Gergo Bowdy immediately at Paddock Hill, but the momentum does go the way of the Hungarian, who then swings it over to the inside at Druids to cover off the inside of that. Zoltan Suti as well, covering off advances from Jack Keithley, the driver who probably be most frustrated with what's happened, and unfortunately only 4th place for him in that session. That's what it's going to stand, as Zoltan Suti was able to cover that one off nicely. Bence Banki only 2nd place, and David Noj then leading the way, looking for yet another victory in the CUPRA SimRacing Series. Through Clearways for the first time and towards the line, massively wide with Zoltan Suti, but seems to pick up the momentum on the exit of the corner. We see a little bit of movement between the Russians further down the order. Mikonin's got ahead of Galakov, and that's a bit of a change as Romanenko as well getting involved with that. But Zoltan Suti defending a podium position from the previous race leader. Very late on the brakes there was Jack Keithley. Moritz Lerner on the back of Gergo Bowdy's eyeing up any sort of advantage that he can move through, but we know with Brands Hatch it's immensely difficult to make a pass here, as everyone runs massively wide at Graham Hill Bend. There is Zoltan Suti. I said earlier in the broadcast, there's no threat of a drive-through penalty, at least definitely not now with no pit stop in the race. Of course, going back to Slovakia ring, where he'd managed to jump Bent Banky on the pit stop, but unfortunately in doing so, he'd actually picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. No threat of that today. This afternoon, running in 3rd place. And we've seen before with Zoltan Suti, when he does come to the CUPRA SimRacing Series, he's always there or thereabouts. He's always towards the front. So for him, running in 3rd place, Rob, great running thus far, and very much helping his teammate with Jack Keithley and Moritz Lerner behind him.
Yeah, both Lerner and Notch are a little bit further ahead, but for Notch, of course, it's much better now how the situation unfolded.
Well, he's gone from 3rd to 1st and all of that. Moritz Lerner's gone from 9th to 6th in between the 2 races, so things are all right for him.
Big loser Adam Pinches.
You've got to be brave to go around the outside of Paddock Hill Bend, but he could get a cutback. Mistimed though, mistimed that cutback. He's still going to try and force his way down the inside. Whoa, that was tight. There was no real way through there. And on the back of him, another Mirror Esports driver, Ben Superneck, and then Florian Haase, Gianmarco Verducci, and Adam Pinches, who's also lost out from that because he was battling up in 4th place in the previous race. Was Pinches, the previous attempt, but Moritz Lerner, he just mistimed that cutback, and that's really the best way to make a move around this circuit. The outside of firing it down between Surtees and Clearways, just here. And the best place to make a move is on the cutback through Paddock Hill, but Gergo Baldi just pulled it up beautifully on the apex, and there was no way for him to do it.
Martin Jarschel in a massive battle pack here, already up again to P20.
He's got McConan directly ahead of him as everyone's fanning out and trying to find their way through. Tim Jarschel, of course, starting from the back of the grid in both races this afternoon. Oh, down the inside. That was a bit clumsy. That was
Steven Galakov.
Yeah.
Owen Galakov.
Oh, see ya. That was Shanto. Peter Shanto then being escorted down the exit of Druids, where many a driver have been in their time, including me. It's easy to be fired off there. Unfortunately for him, though, that's not the way he wanted to enter the CUPRA SimRacing Series. Florian Haase only 8th place. Euronics Gaming have had, to be honest, respectfully, a bit of a torrid time in the CUPRA SimRacing Series this year, whereas Florian Haase and Tim Jarschel really haven't put things together too well this season. Only 8th place is Florian Haase. Of course, had that great run in Austria to 4th in the 2nd of the sprint races. Didn't really back that up in Slovakia. And for a driver who has won championships, or a championship anyway, in race room, I don't think he's having the run through this that he'd really want.
Well, certainly not this season, but it's been a kind of an Euronics gaming problem throughout a couple of leagues. Not only in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, but this year not a lot is going right. We've seen the GT Masters Championship. Tim Jarschel, okay, he's scoring a lot of points there. He was 2nd last time, but Andre Santos, for example, there, sitting currently in last position in the standings, and Julian Kunze just 1 position ahead. So, tough times for Euronics.
Especially considering they have a good few high-profile drivers. It's a bit of a sad sight at the moment. Of course, there is plenty of time in the year to recover, to rebound, and to carry the momentum into 2021. Pinches down to 12th place. He's going to lose another one to Kirill Antonov, who's done that cutback between Surtees and Clearways and fires it down the inside. And Adam Pinches for AAA Esports down to 13th. How different races he's having. The first running was running up in 4th place, now 13th. Kirill Antonov not exactly having a great run in 12th place. It's quite close, is Kirill Antonov, to getting into quite a bit of trouble when it comes to the penalties and stuff. We were having a discussion prior to this that Antonov has been in the wars a little bit throughout the season, but
so has been Pinches, to be fair.
So same, yes, absolutely.
And I would say even the bigger winner out of all of this, compared to Notch maybe, is Sokovikov.
Running in 11th. Very good. One of the 2 privateers on the grid is Sokovikov. Of course, had that incident in the first run of this, and we saw he looked pretty disappointed and dejected As there goes Antonov down the inside, there's the contact, and Antonov right over the curb at Paddock Hill. Sokovikov is going to hold on, but he needs to really get to the inside of Druids. Doesn't really cover it off very well. Adam Pinches gets into contact, and there goes Kirill Antonov down the road. That was a bit of a messy incident there, and Sokovikov manages just to come out on top of all of that in 11th place. Antonov was the one who was footed the major bill. Whether he was the one asking for it or not is to be debated, but it was all a bit messy from the dive into Paddock Hill down towards Druids. A lot more work to do now for Kirill Antonov.
Yeah, he's right there with Tim Yarshall now. Actually, Mukonen in between, and Sebastian Stahl has gained a position.
Maybe a couple? Oh, of course, again, the one from Shantae. Absolutely, from that retirement. But he's right on the back of this train as well. So
yeah, look how they're fighting. Ponto and Romanenko going side by side in front. It's right there now.
He's got some pressure from behind, nevertheless. But Sebastian Stahl, who really, to be honest, coming into this, bit of a surprise in the sense of like his pace was more than acceptable. Coming into this, his consistency might be the main downfall, but so far, at least over the opening, effectively nearly 10 minutes into this race, has put in a good effort thus far, and is still very much apart and close enough to pick up pieces. Rob, that's what the main thing is about this for Sebastian Stahl, is just picking up the pieces of other people's misfortune.
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job here.
Absolutely.
Galakov behind him, he might be a little bit faster to go to the front, because Zoltan Suti has caught up with Ben Spunky, and Ben Spunky is losing David Nodge.
Oh, a bit wide is Ben Spanky through Surtees, just carried a little bit too much speed. You can see on the right hand side in the mirror, that is Jack Keithley, who is desperate to make amends, and running in 4th place is not so great, as Zoltan Suti very much doing the same thing that Jack Keithley is, and filling the mirrors of Ben Spanky, who Ben Spanky and Jack Keithley got really into it back in the Slovakia ring in a battle, particularly through the second half of the race for the podium places. Rob didn't quite go the way, realistically, of either of them, because Jack Keithley did end up getting the podium, but he got a penalty for his troubles.
Yeah, it was a tricky scene, and both drivers weren't happy with each other there. Keithley said Bunky turned in, Bunky said Keithley just dive bombed him, and in the end they both lost out.
Yeah. Like I say, one got the podium but a penalty with it, and the other one, well, didn't get the podium. So didn't really work out in either's favour there. That fairly aggressive tussle. At the moment, David Nodge 1 second clear. He is going. He is lighting this one up. And you know that if Zoltan Suti can get by and up into 2nd place, if he can get by Ben Spanky, I would say that is almost the race done, because being a teammate of David Nodge, you're not going to fight your teammate for the race lead.
I think Suti's presence is already distracting Bunky a little bit.
Yeah. I would say that Mirror Esports at the moment, we've spoken like throughout the running, as you know, with Williams Esports being one of the strongest teams in Race Room, and obviously Euronics maybe not so much at the moment. Mirror Esports though, it's their teamwork, it's their relentless charge for basically backing up the other drivers. They look like a team, you know, they care about each other, they want the team to do well, the team comes first, and I really respect that. Zoltan Suti is eyeing up Ben Spanky, who doesn't have a teammate here for Red Bull Racing Esports. You can see Jack Keithley just behind this in the white car is applying all sorts of pressure. We look from Jack Keithley. He's hooking up nicely. I don't know how much tyre wear is going to come into a factor, but like I said earlier, the front left does take quite a battering around the circuit. It's a fairly heavy loaded circuit. And like I said, the front left, after this race, the front left is not your fan. Ooh! from not committing there for Zoltan Suti, Jack Keithley was nearly very much in the scene of the accident.
Yeah, I think Suti kept his nose clean so far against Bunky, but it's still helping David Notch a lot. And Lerner as well, he can't get past Garibaldi.
Duty's just applying pressure. That is all he is doing right now. He's maybe not quite close enough, not able enough to go for a move, but he is doing everything right by effectively the gap between the two of them has never really exceeded a car length. He is always there, and that relentless pressure, no matter how good you are, it is hard work to put together some good lap times again and again and again if you have that level of pressure, because you're constantly driving on your mirrors. You're not focusing on the apex, you're not focusing on the road ahead, you're focusing on that red car and the white car behind it in your mirror.
And he got a good exit here. And he must be hoping that Keithley sends an attack on Suti.
To make a gap, yeah. But Suti is, he's quick at the right places. I don't think he's quite confident enough, or to be honest, I don't think he's quite aggressive enough to fire one down the inside. So there's only really two major overtaking opportunities in the circuit. One of them's going into the final corner, the other one's coming out of the first on the run to Druids. But he's not really close enough coming out of clearways, as that's Ben Spanky defending from Moritz Lerner, and Moritz Lerner.
Oh, Keithley sending it as well.
Not able to work. The entry to Druids, right, if your defensive entry to Druids is normally diagonal, which is just hilariously dangerous. So I'm glad that no one's been doing that thus far. Everyone's been taking the defensive line properly. Because I've been on the receiving end of someone moving across diagonally across the braking zone. So, there's nothing I can do in this scenario. Thanks. Everyone's behaving themselves, at least in the top lot thus far, in the first race this evening. And it is David Noj, our championship leader, leading the way from Ben Spanky, Zoltan Suti, Jack Keithley and Gergo Baldi, who, as we ride on board with Moritz Lerner, you can see Gergo Baldi ahead as he's just picked up a little bit of oversteer there, comes straight across to the inside of Druids and absolutely slams that door for Moritz Lerner, who's got no real way through, and the momentum should go the way of Gergo Baldi, certainly does, and is not able to keep there. Frustration for Moritz Lerner as he is yet able to get by. And behind this, Ben Supernek, Florian Haase, Torsten Ulrich, who's having an all right run. Of course, Torsten Ulrich with some good things from him in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, also in the VIP event. And Gianmarco Fiducci rounding out the top 10. Sokovikov, who we were talking his praises up early, was up in 11th place, is now down to 13th. And with just 10 minutes to go, things are looking rosy red for David Noj.
Just want to point out a little statistic here. They're still not really launching it here, but that's the statistic of the podiums so far in the season. David Notch has got 6 podiums, and Moritz Lerner, his championship rival, has only 3. And it looks like, after the end of this race, it's going to be 7-3.
Of course, the important thing with that is Moritz Lerner, of his 3 podiums this season, they are all 3 race victories.
Yeah, that's true.
But normally, when Lerner's not on the podium, he is somewhere within sort of like the top 5 or 6. There he's running in 6th place. I wouldn't say it's going well for Moritz Lerner. He really needs to try and fire some stuff over towards David Noj. But it could be worse. I mean, if the previous, well, how many races? We're 6 races in a row. It's been David Noj or Moritz Lerner taking victory. This will make it 7.
Yeah, last time someone else won. That was Jack Keithley at Imola.
Yeah. Which shows how impressive those two have been. Of course, it was 2 race victories back in Zandvoort for David Noj. Then there was back-to-back race victories, one at Monza and then one at Austria for Moritz Lerner. Then David Noj took the 2nd race at Austria, and then last time out in the Slovakia ring, it was Moritz Lerner who took victory there. So between the two of them, they've shared the previous 6 race wins at an even 3-for-3. Looks like it's going to go a 4th one for David Noj, as Zoltan Suti was eyeing up yet another move, but nothing committed enough. That is an immensely difficult circuit to overtake at, and with 8.5 minutes to go, Bence Banky, who's 2 seconds off of our race leader, that's going to be around a circuit where there's not really much to find. That's going to be an immensely hard task for anyone to close down that gap. And to be honest, I don't think anyone's going to be able to.
Almost 2 seconds now, the lead of David Notch. Bence Banky, he's doing a good defensive job here. Kind of surprised that Keithley is so calm there.
It is uncharacteristic for Keithley, especially considering what's happened to him. Oh, as we say it, like the moment you say it, here he goes. Jack Keithley leaves it down the inside, not able to gain there on Zoltan Suti, but you get the feeling that as the clock is ticking down, that Jack Keithley is getting closer and closer to firing something. I think he might back out of Surtees a little bit here and try and get to the inside through clearways. Oh, he was looking for it. He's looking for it. He is committing to it. Oh, he is there. Touch of contact with Zoltan Suti. Now runs it round the inside of clearways as predicted. And then the run to the start finish is going to have the inside for Paddock Hill, but the momentum is going the way of the Hungarian with the slipstream as well, and Jack Keithley not able to gain from it.
Like he was backing out of it. Maybe he knew that wasn't quite fair.
He's got the outside though through Druids. That one never really works. He's rubbed it up and he's now switched sides on the run down towards Graham Hill. He may do so again and leaves it down the inside of Graham Hill as there's more contact between the two. This is exactly what Bence Banky wanted. That pressure from behind of Zoltan Suti to effectively create a buffer between the two. That was a bit more Jack Keithley-esque. Unfortunately for him, it didn't really work out in this scenario. Oh, what have we got in the background there?
Thorsten Ulrich.
Yeah. Going side by side with Florian Haase. And Florian Haase, the one in the white car with the blue front, drops down a position to 9th place and now looks down the inside of Thorsten Ulrich, who's trying to get by Bence Zupanek, and behind this you've got Gianmarco Fiducci and Adam Pinches desperate to get inside the top 10. Here comes Thorsten Ulrich down the inside, absolutely steams it through on the brakes, fires it through, gains the position. That was aggressive, bold, but fairly well judged from the German. And Florian Haase not able to get through himself. That was brave.
Yeah, that was brave, but it worked out well. In the background, Fiducci gaining the place on Haase now. Haase just dropping further and further back the order.
Kind of put it on him for Pinches to maybe fire something through. He's a driver that's good at taking advantage of situations, as we see Gianmarco Fiducci there on the right-hand side of your screen. Comfortably leaned back. You can see him work the wheel though through Paddock Hill. Takes about 3 bites on the front end to get it dipped in to the apexes. Going up the road, that's Florian Haase, and opening the door, there's another position as Adam Pinches is now trying to get through. Doesn't quite do so, with the momentum around the outside, and now Florian Haase down the inside of Gianmarco Fiducci. I don't think Fiducci will be particularly pleased in that sense. They're going to be side by side towards Surtees, and Florian Haase is going to gain that one, but Adam Pinches is there to plug the gap that was left with a big drift. He's not going to carry much momentum out of the final corner with that one, but that was Ken Block-esque, to be honest.
The shirt is fitting there, but well, it's Fiducci's shirt and not Adam Pinches. Actually, that might be a Valentino Rossi shirt, though. It is a
Valentino Rossi shirt.
Either way, close battles here, but also close battles a little bit further up. Let's just see the end of the hairpin here. Fiducci can keep the position.
Yeah. Nice work. To the leader though, and to the lead battle rather, we've got 5th place here, Gogo Baldi with Moritz Lerner behind and 4 minutes left on the clock, and Moritz Lerner, he's been close all the way through. He's been applying pressure in the right place but not able to make anything stick as Zoltan Suti's back to applying pressure to Bence Banky. Not long to go in the race, it'll be 5 laps I believe, so a few more rotations of this tiny circuit in the southeast of England. Contact on the rear there between Moritz Lerner and Gogo Baldi. I think Moritz Lerner's like, oh, come on, mate, if you're going to hold this position, let's just get on with it. you'd understand the frustration of Moritz Lerner. Same, to be fair, the frustration of Jack Keithley. Although I think, to be fair, Moritz Lerner has actually gained out of this, considering he was far down the order, being in 9th place earlier, and now runs in the 6th place and battling for a top 5.
You can see a few scraps there at the front of Lerner's car.
Going for the cutback. I think we're going to see Gogo Baldi pull it right over. There he certainly does. Leaves it in the middle of the road smartly so that if Moritz Lerner does look down the inside, he can kind of cover it off. And there goes Gogo Baldi then to hang on to 5th place once again, nearly 3 seconds, the race leader. And then it's basically 6/10 covering this battle here. 2nd, 3rd and 4th, Banky, Suti, Keithley respectively. And where Gogo Baldi and Moritz Lerner had closed up for this through their battle, they've pulled back through, whereas Moritz Lerner is on the inside. The momentum's definitely not going to go his way, holding it that tight through. Certainly not. There we go. It looked like it was going well for Moritz Lerner, and the Moritz Lerner fans, I'm sure, were out of their chair with joy, but unfortunately, not on this occasion. Instantly sat back down.
It is going well though for David Notch, who's once again leading the race here. Massive gap over Ben Spunky.
He's doing an incredible job. Like I said, it's such a championship leader thing to do, is to hit that reset button, come back and give a drive worthy of a championship, taking pole position and what is looking like a fairly likely race victory this afternoon. It's been an imperious drive at the moment, as defending the inside is Gogo Baldi, and there isn't going to be room for a cutback there considering the space they are. Moritz Lerner is still around the outside, and he's done so through Paddock Hill, but through Druids the momentum on the outside is normally quite a hard one. He's still there though, and it should gift him the inside of Graham Hill Bend. This could be a great move from Moritz Lerner, and I think he is going to do so, but the outside, oh, there is some more contact onto the dirt, onto the grass, onto the AstroTurf on the outside, and Gogo Baldi hangs on.
Oh, Lerner was certainly backing out there. I don't even think it was unfair from him.
No, me neither. I think that was all fair, to be honest. That's just hard racing between the two, but Gogo Baldi then lives to fight another day. 1 lap to go.
Yeah, we have to see if it's only this lap or if there's another one. When Notch crossed the line, it was pretty much around the same time it takes to do 1 lap. As Suti goes for 2nd.
Zoltan Suti down the inside on Bent Banky to try and gain 2nd position, and Jack Keithley's eyeing up his potential chance to find his way onto the podium, and Zoltan Suti to the outside. He is going to gain that position, gets boffed off the road a little bit by Bent Banky, the Red Bull Racing Esports driver. Now through the inside of Surtees. Oh, he's all over the grass. There's contact between the two of them. This should be the last lap of the race, and I don't think anything's going to happen. The front of the field, though, the call is being beckoned by David Noj. Mirror Esports, pole position, race victory yet again this season. He is going to be followed across the line by Bent Banky and Zoltan Suti. Moritz Lerner's not able to get by Gogo Baldi up to the line, and 6th is as good as David Noj's championship rival can muster. And from that, I think he might be a little bit disappointed. Tim Yarshall, obviously things have fallen apart for him because he did make his way inside the top 20, and unfortunately 23rd place is all he'll be able to do. And unfortunately through that, dropping down to the back of the order was Sebastian Stahl, who I'm assuming has had a little bit of an issue in the latter points of that race, because he was running fairly well on the back of the train at the rear end of the field. And unfortunately that's not quite the way it's worked out. But David Noj, nevertheless, another victory, Rob. That's yet another one for him, and it moves the tally between Moritz Lerner and David Noj this season. That's their 7th race victory as a pair, as a championship rivals. It's their 7th one in a row.
Yeah, impressive stuff there. And a great race. Recovered from the server issues, from resetting his mindset immediately, and what a dominant performance from David Noj. Now he has to do it once again, because we've got the 2nd race, of course, coming up. The same format as this one, 25-minute sprint race.
Indeed. Got to hit that reset button again. And considering they've already had to do it once this evening, whether they'll be able to do it a second time to the same level of effect. Rob, the pole position, the race win, kind of what we would have expected the pole position to translate to the race win. Do you think that will happen again? Do you think we'll see some further tight racing between them?
I think we will see some more tight racing for sure, but I'm not sure. I think Jack Keithley, he would be very motivated this time to do a good performance.
Well, of course, earlier in the evening he was looking very, very strong, was Jack Keithley. It didn't really work out in that race. We're in practice at the moment, the build-up towards the qualifying session. It'll be the same as it was before, so a 5-minute qualifying session. It'll be a private session. They will start effectively a little bit further around the lap to then carry the momentum through clearway, so they don't have to do a full out lap, is what I'm saying. And it's their own circuit. There's no slipstream, there's no teamwork. It is you, the car, the track, and 5 minutes to get that lap on the board. Nothing else. And that can be pretty pressurized. And David Nodge has been the master of that, really, because he's had that pole position in the race victory in Austria in the same scenario. Of course, he did the same thing in Zandvoort in the second race. And to be fair, if looking at things this evening, considering we had the 5-minute qualifying session into a race earlier, he's done that here as well. Poised to make it 2 from 2 at Brands Hatch, as we see Adam Pinchers for AAA Esports, one that was battling for the podium prior to the red flag, and didn't really make the most of the second running of that race. Has done quite well this season before, though, having taken a victory. That was from pole position, wasn't it, Rob?
Oh, Pinchers restarting immediately here.
Did not like that run through the final corner. Who is going to be on pole position here? The margins are so very small that anything, taking 2 kilometers an hour through Paddock Hill will gain you a position. You know, 2 kilometers an hour faster. It's such a tiny margin. The likelihood of seeing back-to-back poles here, to be honest, I don't see it. I think this is Moritz Lerner's best chance to hit that reset button and fire one in. Whether he can do so or not, we'll have to wait and see. We see Adam Pinchers still, and we await those first times to come across the board. It did take a little while in the first running of this session, but we're now getting them through, and Moritz Lerner fires in a 47.968, 10th and a bit clear of Kirill Antonov, and Jack Keithley has not made the most of that, as he's only in 4th place. David Nodge, neither. Only 3rd for him. Remember how close Moritz Lerner was to potentially getting pole position after firing in some purple sectors in the dying moments of the previous session, Rob. He could be determined to rectify those purple sectors and actually set them during the session. He only missed out by a couple of seconds of actually setting that time.
The new times are coming in. Pointeau up to 2nd.
Wow.
And Suti now immediately gets in there. And Gergo Baldi. There we go.
Pole.
Position so far, but Jack Keithley, 2 purple sectors. Actually exactly same time in the middle sector as Baldi. Up to P3.
Indeed. Great time. Williams Esports taking a bit of a swing at things. And Jack Keithley said with the experience he's got in sim racing should be able to beckon his way to the front of the order. Moritz Lerner with 2 purple sectors escapes.
Yeah, I think he missed the final apex there.
He messed up quite a bit there. And here comes David Nodge to the line, and it could be a potential pole position. Certainly is. Up to the top. 45 thousandths clear and just into the 8s. The 47.8s and 8.99. Moritz Lerner's sector times were pretty close. Great qualifying thus far from Quentin Pointeau, who spent most of the previous race down the back of the order. And for him, this would be a great qualifying session. Does he improve? He certainly does to 6th place. Great stuff for Quentin Pointeau. Great stuff.
Baldi's also in the purple sector right now.
Here he is through the second. Purple again. Mirror Esports currently running 1-2 in this session as Jack Keithley moves up to third place and deposes his teammate a single position down to fourth place. Does Moritz Lerner go? And Emery Chihan's having a good qualifying session here up in fifth. Does Gergo Bowdy improve as they run towards the line? No, he doesn't. He improves on time, just not on position. 47.911 moves him slightly clear of Gergo Bowdy. Ben Zupanek only to 8th, but puts himself ahead of Martin Barner, who just moved up the order. I think like Zoltan Suti as well. Moritz Lerner then, purple first, purple second. This could be big. Williams Esports, their highest driver in the CUPRA SimRacing Series at the moment, having won 3 races in 2020. What's he going to do towards the line? Not enough. Not enough. He's got one more attempt, and it's going to be tight to the line again, Rob.
See if someone can still get a time in. Florian Hasse, definitely.
No, his sector 2 time's not come up for some reason. Although his timer is still counting, and we can see the sector 3 one. What does Florian Hasse do to the line? Currently in 11th place, up to 7th. Decent.
Now back to the pit lane.
That's all Lerner can do then. And David Noj looks set for a second pole position here at Brands Hatch. Gianmarco Verducci improves to 12th. Shanto to 7th place. Great effort from the rookie. Right up the order, but it looks like it's going to go to David Noj and Gergo Bowdy. Mirror Esports front row as we get ready for the second race. The halfway point of the season has officially passed. It's round 7 of 13 in the 2020 CUPRA SimRacing Series. We are ready for race 2. David Noj on pole position yet again, this time though ahead of his teammate. On that front row of the grid, things couldn't be tighter as we look at the front of this grid at Brands Hatch. Gergo Bowdy then, Jack Keithley and Moritz Lerner, the Williams Esports drivers, on the row behind. But it is our championship leader, David Noj, as we are underway at Brands Hatch once again. Noj will be leading the order to Paddock Hill as everyone gets a pretty clean launch in the background. No one's tripping over each other, thankfully. It is going to be Noj leading the way. Gergo Bowdy, Jack Keithley, Moritz Lerner as firing down the inside instantly. Whoa, that was Gergo Bowdy. Mordzo just covering off the advances of Jack Keithley and maybe opening the door for Moritz Lerner. Wasn't quite enough as Zoltan Suti, Mirror Esports, this is their best chance for Mirror Esports to maybe potentially get a 1-2-3 if Zoltan Suti can work his way up the order. Shanto's dropped back a couple of places, now 3 as he drops back behind Bent Banky, who's had a terrible qualifying session as they're battling out in the background. The red car down the inside of Moritz Lerner. That was Zoltan Suti absolutely firing it into clearways. That's opened the door for Emery Chihan to get down the inside. One of our 2 privateers this evening alongside Sokovikov. And that'll be maybe the position done. No, Emery Chihan is not able to carry the momentum, the slipstream enough for Zoltan Suti to hold things. But that mistake nearly cost Zoltan Suti being over-eager.
Oh, Hasse gets a little push there once again as Chihan is trying to find a way past Suti, but Suti defends pretty tough.
So we've got Mirror, Williams, and then Mirror Esports behind that. And Emery Chihan now with Florian Hasse to the inside as they head through 30s. It's going to be the outside as we get to the final corner at Clearways. We lose them behind the trees. And I think, though, Florian Hasse is not able to make that advantage. He can go through a shot there. And Emery Chihan, the red and black car, is able to hang on. Sebastian Stahl's gained a couple of places. Mikkonen and Ulrich are the 2 behind him. So great start for him.
And Ulrich, after a great first race, has lost a lot of ground.
Did the upshot to 19th already. Obviously taking advantage of a super tight grid here at Brands Hatch. And our race leaders, Jack Keithley, on the back of Gergo Bowdy, said before in the previous, prior to the red flag when he was leading from Gergo Bowdy, that Jack Keithley and Gergo Bowdy, they've raced each other so much, Rob. They understand how each other races. So this might be the best chance for Jack Keighley to get by and move his way up the order. Of course, Spencer Banky as well. In the previous race is someone that he's raced with an awful lot as well.
The thing is, it's once again perfect position for David Notch.
Absolutely.
Keighley maybe a bit more aggressive than Banky was in the first race. So let's see. Oh yeah.
Oof. Certainly so. There's some Morse code for you. I think that translates to get out of my way. I think, like I say, I think Jack Keighley is going to be aggressive in this one because he wants a victory. He wants to break this streak that David Nodge has got, looking down the inside. Oh, we've seen this a few times.
I think this is a great move.
That was perfectly judged from Jack Keighley. That was clean and well fired, I'll say that, down the inside of the final corner, and Jack Keighley then takes the lead, and Moritz Lerner's now eyeing up his way down the inside of that. Oh, that one's slightly less well judged. There's a bit of contact between himself and the Hungarian, and it's going to be third place is going to go the way of Moritz Lerner, and Gogo Bowdy is able to just drop back in line. That was, like you say, that was a beautiful move from Jack Keighley. I think the exit was a little bit rough and harsh, but, you know, fair enough. All's fair in love and war.
And they needed to get past Gogo Bowdy immediately because he was going to hold them up. You know, not going to do anything unfair, but just drive a little bit slower.
Slightly wide of the final corner apex there was Moritz Lerner. He'll now be screaming into his headset to Zoltan Suti. I don't think Zoltan Suti is going to do much on Gogo Bowdy at the moment. Maybe Emre Cihan is his best hopes of alleviating some pressure behind if he can get involved with Gogo Bowdy.
Oh, Bowdy touched the gravel there. You can see how much time it cost immediately.
They really do dig into that gravel trap. Oh, way wide as well. He's letting by Zoltan Suti, maybe? That looks like it.
Certainly does.
Interesting idea to do that now. But, you know, power to them. So Gogo Bowdy allows his teammate Zoltan Suti through. Maybe he feels that Zoltan Suti's got better pace and more of a chance of taking the fight to Moritz Lerner, because if not, he's basically just alleviated the pressure from behind of Moritz Lerner, which is an odd thing to do to try and help a teammate. Here comes Spence Banky. Janto's, he's lost a couple of positions at the start of the race, but now that he's got things going, having a good run of it, and now we're seeing a bit of a boff from Spence Banky. Got to give a shout out as well to Corentin Planteau, running up in 8th place. That is a great run thus far. Here's some feisty action. Kirill Antonov inside of Martin Barner. A lot of rubbing through Graham Hillbent, and Danan Pinches, Gianmarco Fiducci also a part of this. You can see those going side by side in the background as Gianmarco Fiducci is going to be on the outside for the final corner. Danan Pinches on the inside. There's more contact between the two. Leandro Verla as well with Gune. A lot of side by side here, Rob, in the latter parts of the field.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers who are in the top 10 of the standings are in this battle here. There's Tim Yarshall in the background, trying to get past Leandro Verle. Oh, and in the foreground as well, Shanto and Banky just changed positions.
Certainly has, as we did see Tim Yarshall then up to 18th place, and Bent Banky, as you say, up into 9th past Shanto. Nice stuff from him. Leandro Verla's not done with this, as he's now side by side with Gune. Oh, okay. Gains that one. And Romanenko now behind. Tiladina's gained a position, one of our camera cars, with Sokovikov. Another one of our camera cars who's not having a great run in race 2 is Sokovikov. Had a good run in race 1 eventually, though, or a decent one anyway. There is a Tiladina.
Oh, and there's been a big crash. And Shanto off again.
Who was it with?
Oh, it must have been Supernek.
It was indeed. Ben Supernek, the other one, dropped down the order with him.
Oh, and Supernek out of the race.
That is a shame. That's a shame for Shanto, who's also having a great run up in the top 10.
Yeah, and two times he's been crashed here. Well, we didn't see, of course, what happened exactly in the scene.
No. Paddock Hill's a very fast corner though, so I wouldn't be able to crash through there myself. I've seen a couple go off there in elsewhere in motorsport and sim racing. It's never a small crash at Paddock Hill. It's an easy corner to take too much speed on the inside, misjudge your braking zone. Oh, Quentin Ponto now under pressure from Bence Banky. To be honest, if I was Ponto, I'd be sat there thinking, ninth place is still pretty good.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah. Doesn't feel the requirement to apply too much pressure to Bence Banky with Kirill Antonov behind. What I would do in this scenario is I would try and sit as close as possible to Bence Banky and just use the slipstream to pull me up to the next pack and hopefully stop the advances of Kirill Antonov. Galakov as well, great run. 11th place at the moment.
Yeah, the Russian duo, both driving for the Lada Rosneft esports team. Oh, and that's Fiducci and Yash. Oh, Yash against Fiducci there.
Oh, leaving it right down the inside. Tim Yarshall nearly makes contact with Alan Pinchaz as well through that. Gianmarco Fiducci's left wondering whether Leandro Vela is going to fire something in. Leandro Vela's normally, to be fair, he's normally in the bottom half of the grid, but he's perfectly raceable, and it's one of those scenarios where if he qualifies up in the top lot, you would assume he could battle up there as well, with Gianmarco Fiducci slightly wide through clearways. And nearly had the door wide open for Leandro Vela to move his way up another position. The train very much a feature here at Brands Hatch, as David Noj is not leading one at the moment. He's 1.2 seconds clear of Jack Keithley as we ride on board with Tim Yarshall, who's done a good job of moving his way up the order. Maybe was eyeing up a move down the inside. Adam Pinches, though, really was feeling a firing down the inside of Martin Barner. Wasn't quite able to commit to it. The two Hungarians battling out for 12th and 13th place, and Tim Yarshall, the German, behind after coming from the back of the grid, trying to keep his nose clean because he doesn't really want to pick up a penalty, particularly going into Shanghai, a circuit we know he is very strong at. And that's the next circuit that we go to. Oh, there's some more contact. Especially with Shanghai being a 200 points race as well. Being an endurance race.
Tim Yarshall really strong on Shanghai. Just makes a mistake in the first corner.
Oh, now going to the outside, Gianmarco Fiducci. I didn't think that one was going to be on. Certainly wasn't in retrospect. And now this one might be though, into Graham Hill Bend. Oh, Gianmarco Fiducci. I think he's learning from Jack Keithley now, isn't he? After he's been fired off a little bit. Not too bad, not like illegal or anything, but he's been moved by Jack Keithley a couple of occasions this season. I think he was. He's learning from it, which is great to have someone learning whilst he's been on the grid. He's shown immense pace for Gianmarco Fiducci. One of the true up-and-comers of the race room world. Here's Jack Keithley.
He's just making no progress at all when it comes to closing the gap to David Nodge.
I think it's maybe come down a couple of tenths in the last 6 or 7 minutes, which is not enough to close that gap properly. When it gets below a second, that might help, but the thing is, you're going up against David Nodge, someone who was so consistent. That's why he's the championship leader, his relentless consistency at the top of the championship. It's almost stopping any charge, because as much as someone like Moritz Lerner can beat him every couple of rounds, every couple of races, he's always there when he gets beaten. He's always second. He's always he got beaten at Slovakia ring, was second. He got beaten at Austria after qualifying poorly. He was 4th. He's just so consistent, is David Nodge. Since taking those victories at Zandvoort, my goodness, he has been impressive in this well. And for Jack Keithley, who is strong at this venue, been victorious here a few times in race room competition, and he'll be ruining the first race as to why he couldn't take that victory. He'd be frustrated. Almost, I'd say he'd almost be livid. Quite an emotional driver, Jack Keith, isn't he?
And he actually recovered pretty well.
4th place, yeah.
Battle in the midfield is completely insane.
Galakov, we've got Gianmarco Fiducci there, you've got Adam Pinches leading it, you've got Leandro Vela behind, and it is manic, to say the least. We look, our focus mostly on Alexander Galakov, who is on the back of Gianmarco Fiducci now. He's dropped back a few places after he was up the order in 11th place with his teammate Kirill Antonov. Unfortunately, has dropped down the order, but is still very much involved in the thick of it. Gianmarco Fiducci is going to be a pretty tough customer to pass these days in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, 7 rounds into his run into his run through the championship. And Adam Pinches has been in sim racing. Oh, there was someone firing down the inside. That's with Adam Pinches. That is with Gianmarco Fiducci. This opened the door for Galakov to maybe gain a couple of places. He's now on the outside. Come down towards Graham Hill Bend. Oh, Gianmarco Fiducci absolutely squares him off the road. That was what. Oh, that's a terrible rejoin though. Like the pushing off was unacceptable. The rejoin very much a part of that as well. Galakov there drops down to 22nd place. I think Gianmarco Fiducci might have a couple of words with that, well, between himself, Galakov, and maybe a couple of the stewards.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if they all finish the race when they drive like this.
Norwick getting the cut back down the inside of Attila, and that was Romanenko on the front end of that field, was making it 3 wide. A lot of squeeze in between the two as Thorsten Ulrich's now leaving it around the outside of Attila, and Romanenko is managing to hang on at least for now, and Thorsten Ulrich does gain that place through fairly arduous fashion. Oh my goodness, Emre Cihan, and that's Florian Harser. That was well cut too, Rob. My goodness, that was nearly a monster crash. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Andy Jordan and Matt Neal, or maybe even been Colin Turkington.
Oh, I remember it. I remember.
23rd,
Yeah.
13, I think it was. It's the season that Andy Jordan won. In that final corner, very similar kind of thing. Just basically fired it across the grass, and there was contact. Pretty sure it was Colin Turkington. It's just a terrible shame for me, being a Turkington fan. But oh, so easy to make a crash up that end by doing that. That's why Jack Keithley's move was so impressive early in the race. It was so beautifully timed. Well, go Bowdy.
Yeah, speaking of Keithley, he still hasn't gained any time today with Notch.
Nope. 1.2 seconds it remains. He's pulled away from Moritz Lerner. Oh, and interesting that Gunnar appeared up in 3rd place there. I think he went off quite large at Graham Hill Bend there.
Yeah, probably so far that the game thought he had actually passed everyone.
Yeah.
Down to last place. Promotes Sebastian Stahler, point position. Who didn't have quite the same pace in this race as he had in the first one.
But he is still going.
He is still going, and with Mukonen, Galakov, Sokovikov in front of him, who knows what will happen there.
Yeah, the battle we're seeing between Attila and Thorsten Ulrich, which now Attila is ahead of, and Thorsten Ulrich is now actually ahead of as they switch positions again. Romanenko leading at the moment. This battle for 16th place. And now down the inside, virtual drivers by TX3, Thorsten Ulrich. We've seen great pace from him. He's not really gelled with Brands Hatch, I don't feel. And to be honest, sat here, I feel for you, buddy. I also don't gel with the circuit.
Ulrich is driving risky lines here.
That opened the door for Attila to leave one down the inside. And there was contact. Now, Thorsten Ulrich nearly fired down the inside of Romanenko. Konstantin Romanenko then, one of our debutants this round. Halfway through the season, I think he's earning his stripes on the CUPRA SimRacing Series field.
Yes, Romanenko is one of the drivers who's normally in server 2. We've got multiple servers running at the same time in the CUPRA SimRacing Series, 4 servers in fact. And Romanenko He's been in Server 2 most of the races. It's his first start in the first division. We've seen a couple of drivers kind of establish themselves from coming from the lower servers.
But of course, if you want to get yourself involved, as Romanenko is doing here, you can do so, loading up race room, loading up the leaderboards and getting yourself into a qualifying mode for Shanghai, as Romanenko moved from one side to the other and then sort of shut the door a little bit then. Whether there was enough of an overlap is entirely debatable, and Romanenko is escorted down the order, and Torsten Ulrich then up to 16th place, Attila Diener 17th, and Sokovikov is in 18th place. That was pretty messy into Graham Hill Bend there, but yeah, it's one of those things that happens. Here's Gianmarco Fiducci with Adam Pinches. These two have been glued to each other all race long, and Leandro Verlo's just sort of sat on the back of it thinking, I don't really know how to get involved with this, as Pinches to the outside of Gianmarco Fiducci, and Fiducci is obviously going to escort him off, but Pinches is still there on the inside of Graham Hill Bent. We've seen the outside work here a few times this afternoon, and out onto the green runoff. The concrete does gain advantage for Gianmarco Fiducci, and that's the position held, at least for now, with Leandro Verla in the background, trying to muscle his way up the order. 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go, and it's still 1.4 seconds. It's gone out a couple of tenths of a second. Jack Keithley, I think he's thrown everything he can, but sometimes there are drives that you just can't do anything about. And I don't think that Jack Keithley will let off the gas here. He will keep pushing until the checkered flag comes out, because what if there's a mistake from David Nodge? But my goodness me, what an impressive couple of rounds. It would make it a 5th victory this season for David Nodge, and I believe a 6th one overall for the Hungarian driver of Mirror Esports. 2nd consecutive victory, and the 2nd time this season that he's locked out an event. The only one sprint races though, which does beg the question, is he going to win at Shanghai?
We will find out in 1 week. And the next race
of course,
happens.
back to back. Quite a different circuit. It's 3 very different tracks to go. You've got Slovakia Ring, then we go to Brands Hatch, and then we go to Shanghai.
Yeah.
These all favour very different drivers.
Yeah, but still at Brands Hatch we thought maybe it's going to be a little bit random in the way the races go, and in the end usual suspects at the front.
Certainly is. Great round from Zoltan Suti.
Yeah, he's caught up to Lerner as well.
Podium in the first race, eyeing up a podium in the second. Had his teammate let him go. He was running in 5th place, and Gergo Baldi very swiftly moved out of the way to allow Zoltan Suti through. And Tim Yarshall, we see, who's worked his way up to 12th place, is now on the rear end of Martin Barner, one who'll be looking to have a good run next week when we head to Shanghai. And Tim Yarshall for Eurolix Gaming. With Martin Barner ahead, Barner stays there. To be fair, to say that he's got involved, we've not seen much of the drive of Tim Yarshall on his charge up the order, considering he's effectively on his final warning. Because if he gets another penalty, by my understanding, isn't it? If he gets another penalty, he's then around he sits out.
Yes, the next step is a race ban, and I was kind of surprised that he was actually driving here, because Shanghai, one of his best tracks coming up, when the eSports WTCR was there, he won both races. He won a race from starting 10th as well. So yeah, in the end he's not going to get many points here in Brands Hatch, or so we thought, but it seems like he's picking up quite a few.
As long as he's smart at the order, it could be a great move. We'll keep our fingers crossed, because we'd love to see Tim Yarshall at Shanghai. Oh, nearly gets it back down the inside, but the outside momentum from Martin Barner is enough to hang in to 11th place. Zoltan Sutis now a couple of tenths off the back, and Corentin Pronto has been passed by Kirill Antonov, but nevertheless, a run into the top 10. That is stunning work from Corentin Pronto. That really, really is. That's a great drive.
Yeah, best drive of the season for him.
Oh,
Hasse.
Battle for 6th place. We normally know that Florian Haase is one of the more consistent drivers on the in racing, really, but the pace hasn't been there realistically thus far. But trying to tick off. Remember how long it was until his first victory? I wonder if we're in the same sort of category for him, where he can consistently run in a decent spot, but victories are almost a little bit out of touch.
And this one here could be interesting on the last couple of laps. Kurz Löhner, second in the championship, his big championship rival David Notch leading the race. With the 2 cars behind him, they are teammates to David Notch.
I think his tyres are going a little bit, considering the gap that's been built between himself and Jack Keithley. Or he's just made a couple of mistakes that just really haven't gone his favour. Either way, I mean, a third place would be a great reprieve for Moritz Lerner, and it would be his first podium of the season that isn't a race victory. With 2 laps to go at Brands Hatch, Moritz Lerner is hanging on to that 3rd spot as they run nearly out to the gravel trap, and like you say, I think he's got a lot of work to do. But Zoltan Susi's not particularly the most aggressive driver, is he, Rob? He's a bit more calm, a bit more mature, and a bit more patient, really. So I don't think he'll fire anything too dangerously down the inside. He says, as there's contact. Fantastic work.
Luna's usually smart with defending as well. I don't think Suti will do something really crazy here. He knows pretty well, you know, that if he can help David Notch, of course he's trying to do that, but I don't think they will risk doing something unfair. But I would not be surprised if he just tries it.
Indeed, just try and break some time.
Is this going to be the last lap?
This might be a bit closer. I think they are. I don't know what times they're running exactly at the moment. I think it might be the last lap, but it's going to be certainly a bit tight. And David Notch doesn't really have the space this time to drop back in. So this could be the call over to the line. It also might not be. So we'll have to wait and see. And for Moritz Lerner, he's desperately hoping this is the last lap, because for him, it's 1 lap less he has to defend from Suti.
Notch is not going to wait there.
No way.
If he can get another lap in, he will do. So let's see if we see a checkered flag on top. I think we will.
I think so too. I think it's 10 seconds to the line from here. Well, David Notch then, we'll see him to the line, and we'll see if it is going to be. It is going to be. It is another victory for David Notch in the CUPRA SimRacing Series. That makes it 5 this season. Jack Keithley in second, and Moritz Lerner, his main championship rival, rounds out the podium, was unable to be passed by Zoltan Suti and Gergo Baldi. But David Notch, talk of the day again. How strong is the Hungarian this season? Notch, incredible. Absolutely incredible. His consistency, his form, and that moves it to 8 victories in a row shared between Notch and Lerner. This is a mad run.
Yeah, this is a crazy run. Who can stop this man? David Notch once again on top of the podium. Jack Keithley, good recovery in second place, and then Moritz Lerner still keeps it open a bit. Maybe at the next track at Shanghai, fortune's a little bit more in the favor of the German, who's been good at the long races. We see confirmation of the results. Notch ahead of Keithley and Lerner. Suti and Baldi rounding out the top 5.
Well, Williams Esports have a 100% victory rate so far in the 2020 season of the CUPRA SimRacing Series in the endurance format. Is David Notch going to put an end to that, whose victories in the CUPRA SimRacing Series have solely come from the sprint races, taking the second race of the first round all the way back in the previous season and taken 5 this season. He's got good numbers when it comes to winning that first race. He wins the second one so far this season, having taken 5 of those victories. When we return in only a week's time, though, when we go to Shanghai, when we go to the endurance format, do things really twist the way of Williams being, their form on the endurance, or is this really the time where it's swinging towards David Notch properly to basically put 2 hands on the trophy this early?
He's been so strong, but there's still a lot of rounds to go. We're just at the halfway point right now. Let's see, in 1 week, hopefully you will tune in once again. And then we will actually have a race with the pit stop. Should be interesting. So thanks a lot, Lewis.
Thank you.
And see you next time.